Switched over to just Word because I'm waiting on my kids to get out of dance, and I'm doing this in the car, so sorry if it's going to look a little different. But just like all the other paragraphs, you should always start with a rubric. And again, I just copied and pasted for the body paragraphs and replaced inventiveness with form and arrangement for this one. So again, I'm going to have a topic sentence to introduce that this paragraph is clearly about form and arrangement. I am going to introduce each poem to let you know which one I'm talking about. But because I've already used both the title of the poem and the author's names in that first body paragraph, from now on, all I have to do is either say the title of the poem or the author's last name or mix it up a little bit. I don't have to say the whole thing every time anymore. And I'm going to make sure that each time I have an example and I explain it, I evaluate it, and it's all about form and arrangement for this particular paragraph. So I'm going to start here a new Word document. And so we're going to pretend that I already have paragraphs written and whatnot, and I'm going to have a topic set that says I am going on about the form and arrangement. So I'm going to say another area I am going to look at to evaluate these 5 poems is how they are formed and arranged. And obviously I'd have double space and 12-point font times, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And so I'm going to go to my first poem. You don't have to always do it in exactly the same order. I just think it's easier for your audience to follow along if you always do the same order. So I'm going to go to Pied Beauty, and I already did this paragraph, or at least this example, in class. So I have already thought about it, but I remember that I looked at it's in 2 stanzas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the first stanza, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the last stanza. And I can see that in the first stanza, it's got cow and plow that rhyme, swim and trim, things and wings. So it's definitely got a rhyme scheme. But then I go down to the second stanza, strange how dim, change, and him, dim and him kind of rhyme. Well, I mean, they do rhyme, but then you've got this space and a shorter line where you can see that these are all pretty much the same length. So I'm going to say that this first stanza with 6 lines is very standard with a rhyme scheme, and because I have a rhyme scheme, that means I have a set rhythm, so I'm going to count my syllables. Glory is 2, B2 is 2, God 4 is another 2, so I've got 6 so far. Dappled and things, so this is going to be tetrameter, because it's got 4 2-syllable feet per line. And glory be to God for dappled things, for skies. I would say that this is probably iambic pentameter, or tetrameter, sorry. So had to do a lot of backtracking to old stuff we've talked about. So, oops, that was my Word document, or Google Doc. So in Pied Beauty, Hopkins has 2 very different forms going on with his 2 stanzas. The first is written in, I said iambic tetrameter with and then I'm going to go back and see what my rhyme scheme was there. It was A, B, C, A, B, C. Okay. So repeats that with, let's see, and it is a 6-line one. His first is a sestet written in iambic tetrameter with a ABC rhyme scheme. However, the second is written in free verse with the 5-line stanza stanza. There we go. So I go back to my rubric, and I again see that I have my topic sentence. I've introduced what poem I'm talking about. I've given what I was talking about, the example, the stanzas and the lines, and then I am going to need to explain this a little bit and evaluate it. So going back, sorry, too many things open right now. Document 1. So even though the two stanzas don't match, this is a good use of arrangement because it captures the meaning of the poem, which is that things that are different can be beautiful. Alright, so I've explained that, and I might want to explain a little bit more, like, what does that have to do with being different, being beautiful? So let's see here. It's good use arrangement because the differences in stanzas. And the stanzas structures. Can't get my apostrophe there. Structures captures the meaning. Okay, so I don't think that's a problem. Then I need to move on to my second poem and example. So I go to Amy Lowell's Fireworks, and I see that we've got a couplet here, the two lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a couplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got a mixture of quartets and couplets, which is fine. And then I see that it's rhyming, so we've got hate you to apart, heart, balls, falls, dis, asterisk. So I'm going to put that I think this is a good use of arrangement. So additionally, Fireworks has two different kinds of stanzas. Couplets and quartets, but they are more, what's the word I'm looking for, like concise, consistent, that's the word, consistent with an AABB rhyme scheme. Throughout. I think this is a good use of arrangement because some fireworks have short bursts and others take longer to get into the air before they explode. So it represents the motif well. Okay, so I got to go back to the rubric, always, always, always make sure you're on the right track. So I go back to the rubric. I've got my opinion about it. I said it was good. I have my example that it's got the couplets and the quartets. I've got the rhyme scheme in there. That's my example. I've explained it and why I think it's good. So I can move on to my next poem and my next example. So I go back up to my poems. I'm glad that these are all at least showing up. I've got my Tiger, Tiger 1. I've got the 4-line stanzas. I've got Bright Night Eye, Symmetry. And whenever you have older poems, which this is, sometimes you just have to give them the benefit of the doubt that these would have rhymes back then because they pronounce things differently, which we talked about a long time ago. Like way back in the Middle Ages, they would have actually pronounced the word knight, like the soldier kind of knight, knigget. They would have pronounced all those different word sounds. So we can assume that they probably would have said I or and symmetry or maybe E and symmetry. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quartets. On the other hand, Blake uses 6 quartets with a rhyme scheme of ABB. Maybe I'll put similarly because that's actually pretty similar to what she had in Fireworks. But it's not as good because it's so consistent, but the topic is questioning creation, which is messy and changing all the time. Okay, so go back to the rubric, and I have that. I've got my form and arrangement. I've evaluated because I felt like it wasn't as good. I've explained it. I've got my example. I do, however, need to go back, and because I forgot, whenever you have the rhyming, then you should have some kind of rhythm to it. So tiger, tiger would be 4 syllables. Burning bright would be another 3. So in the forest of the night, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is probably some disyllabic feet as well as a trisyllabic feet, because it seems like you have consistently 3 at the end. So I'm going to say that this is 1, 2, 3 syllables. So this is going to be trimeter. Tiger, tiger, burning bright, in the forest of the night. So I'm going to say that this is the gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. The one where it's accented and then not accented. And so I'm going to add that into my paper to make sure I have that. Because if you have a rhyme scheme, you should also have meter. 6 quartets with a rhyme scheme of AABB in a trochaic trimeter. There we go. So I've got all the parts that I needed there. Then I can move on to my next example. So I've got Daddy by Sylvia Plath, and looking at it, it's a lot longer. So I've got do, shoe, foot, white, a chew, you, time, God, toe, seal, Atlantic blue, Nasset, you, ak, do. And just looking at it, I can see that the lines are not the same length, and we don't have a rhyme scheme. So this is free verse, even though she has split it into stanzas. And she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stanzas, or 5 lines in each stanza, it looks like. So we got a quintets here. It looks like they're all equal. So I'm going to move on to my paper and say, on the other hand, Plath divides her poem into multiple quintets, but uses free verse rather than rhyme. Wow. I think this is a good use of arrangement to split up a long and complex poem for the reader to focus on one idea at a time. Able to focus in on one idea at a time, because I can type. So then go back to my rubric. As always, it might seem repetitive, but that's what you got to do. I've got my evaluation. I said I thought it was good. I explained it, and I have my example telling that got multiple stanzas of 5 lines, and it is free verse. I can use, if I wanted to, a line or two to show that it's free verse. But for this particular paragraph, just naming and talking about the structure is fine because you don't want to I'm not going to copy 2 whole stanzas to show that both stanzas have 5 lines in them. That's just going to be too much, and this is your example telling that it is free verse. So then I need to move on to my next example, my last one, which is If by Rudyard Kipling. Oh, phew, I was afraid it wasn't going to work here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it looks like we are consistent with 8 lined stanzas, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So I could say Kipling also divides his poem into stanzas. He uses 4 stanzas with 8 lines each. And then I'm going to go back to the poem, and I'm going to see if it rhymes. You, two, waiting lies, hating wise, master aim, disaster, same, spoken fools, broken tools, winnings. Yeah, I'm going to say it looks like it's rhyming. So we got you and you rhyme together, as well as you and two. So we got A, and then we have waiting and hating rhyme, and lies and wise rhyme. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 A's, and then a B, C, B, C. However, he does have a rhyme scheme of A, B, C, B, C. Let's see if the other stanza matches it, because it didn't seem like it did. Master, disaster, aim, same, spoken, broken, fools, and tools. So this one's every other one. So I'm going to put that in there. It does have a rhyme scheme of A, B, C, B, C in the first stanza, but changes to an A, B, C, D, E, F. They all don't rhyme. C, D, sorry. It's hard skipping back and forth. Make sure I have 8 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, perfect. In the second stanza, I'm just going to check the other stanza, see if they have the same winnings, beatings, toss, loss. Okay, so it looks like he switches for the rest of the stanzas. For the rest of the stanzas, I think, let's see, what do I think about this? If this is good or bad. I'm going to look at the first paragraph. You, losing theirs, blaming you, trust, doubt you. Okay, I don't like that, because it's just you constantly in that first particular stanza. Dang it, keep clicking my dock. I don't like the first stanza's rhythm because the rhyme scheme is too repetitive at the beginning. But if he would have had a consistent rhyme scheme, I would have liked it more. So then I gotta go back to my rubric. And I know I've got my example. I talked about how many stanzas it has. I've got the rhyme schemes and how they change. I've explained why I don't like it, because it's too repetitive, and that is my evaluation. I don't like it. It's not good. I would also, again, need to figure out its rhythm. Since it has a rhyme scheme, it has to have a rhythm. So if you can keep your head when all about you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. So this is going to be pentameter. So I'm going to go with back to my paper and make sure I include that. So, also divides his, I'm going to add it here, iambic pentameter poem into stanzas. And then I've got all I need for that particular paragraph because I've got all 5 of my poems done there with opinions and examples. And it's going to look a lot longer when I copy and paste it into my Google Doc where it's going to be in the right font and everything.